All right, now we're going to go through the three energy systems. Now, please be aware this is not going to be the most comprehensive overview of all the energy systems ever done, simply because there's so much that you could possibly say, and we only need to know enough to be able to utilize the programming. So, in future courses, and we have more advanced exercise information courses coming out where we can go through this in more detail so you can understand it, this will give you enough to really help you implement it in your programming, to explain it to your clients, and to make some decisions to help your clients get better outcomes. So, three primary systems are aerobic, anaerobic lactic, and the anaerobic alactic method. So, we're going to be able to identify, explain, apply, and design training programs based on each of these. So, our three systems, the one thing they do, they all produce ATP, which is the fuel for muscle contraction. It all has its own different characteristics, and then that contributes to performance in different types of training. So we call it aerobic, anaerobic, lactic, anaerobic, alactic. So the aerobic energy system is the body's long-term energy producer. That's a word. It requires oxygen to generate ATP. It is the only system capable of breaking down fats to produce ATP in addition to sugars. So one thing you'll hear me talk about in a lot of my content is a thing called a parasympathetic beta oxidative walk. That is the system that we work on to help it break down fats, produce ATP, and a training method we have for that. So what happens is oxygen is utilized in the mitochondria, which is the energy-producing part of the cell, to produce ATP over an extended period, which gives us the fuel to do things for a long time, such as running or cycling or whatever. It's used for aerobic system and also for any other activities that have continued effort, and it gives us recovery between any other form of exercise, okay? This is the important thing to remember. So if you want to be strong and lift weights and have good work capacity, having a well-developed aerobic system is super important because it allows us to recover faster in between sets. So the people who get out of breath walking upstairs, one set of squats is going to kill them for a long period of time. It's going to stop them from doing as much work as possible. So we need to certainly improve our aerobic system for all lifters to get better outcomes. Now, with the anaerobic energy system, or the anaerobic lactic system, it generates ATP without the use of oxygen, and it utilizes glycogen, which is stored in the muscle, or blood sugar. Energy quickly, but limited in duration. So, for a process known as glycolysis, it's broken down to pyruvate. If there's insufficient oxygen, pyruvate is converted to lactate, which we use as fuel in other systems. So, lactate is not a fatigue product, it is a fuel source. So, we use the anaerobic lactic system in high-intensity training, like high-intensity interval training, 400-meter sprints, sports like football, basketball, etc. And the system lasts for only about 1 to 2 minutes, probably a little bit lower for most people. So this is the one that burns the most, okay? Then we have the anaerobic alactic system, which is the quickest form of ATP, which relies on phosphocreatine, which is why we have creatine monohydrate supplementation, used during maximal intensity efforts lasting between 10 and 12 seconds. So most weightlifting and also sprinting. So it breaks down the phosphocreatine in the muscles, which rapidly replenishes ATP. Once the creatine is depleted, it doesn't work anymore, which is why creatine supplementation works. So we use it for explosive power-based activities such as weightlifting, short sprints, jumping, etc. We need to train it for people in this, and its capacity to produce ATP doesn't really increase, but we can increase the power of the system. So with each system, provides a role in all types of exercise, and they're all involved in the same time. So what we need to remember is that most sports, most activities have a predominant energy system, and the other energy systems are supporting that. If we use basketball as a sport that we're going to use, everyone think basketball is primarily aerobic lactic, okay? Because it's constantly moving, it's sprinting, moving around, you stop, you sprint, you stop, you sprint. There's also a high amount of anaerobic alactic with the vertical jump component of basketball and the power that you need to generate, and the high aerobic capacity because you need to recover from these intervals. So a basketball player needs to train all of those systems to be efficient. The challenge is finding out how much do you train each system to get the most out of it and the best outcome for that athlete. Now for sports, that becomes more challenging. For our general population clients, it's actually quite easy. You'd be looking at doing a couple of aerobic system exercise sessions per week, like maybe 2 or 3. Your weight training is going to take anaerobic lactic, and then doing a couple of really like high intensity, like 10-second sprint sessions with something else, with like recovery on the assault bike or something, will take care of that energy system. And that will do well for most people. So it can be really complex, but it can also be very, very simple. So designing a training program, we want to look at what we prioritize. Okay, so This stuff is always involved for athletes. We probably want to look more general population clients. So I would look at where their weak point is, and for 9.9 times out of 10, it is the aerobic energy system. And the quickest way to assess that is someone's resting heart rate and resting blood pressure. If they're not good, we need to build up the aerobic system as fast as possible to get them back to a normal level of function, to a healthy level of function, and they're going to feel better in everything else they do. Okay, so what we want to do is look at the energy systems, how we can apply it, and what's going to work for most of our clients. You only really need to dive into for sports, but for our general population clients, a really good system is this. As many PVO walks as they can handle, so parasympathetic beta oxidative, to help them improve their fat burning potential and the strength of their parasympathetic system. 2 to 3 exposures to aerobic per week, and 1 to 2 to really high intensity, really high maximum output heart rate interval sessions, and then their weight training, and generally they're going to be good to go. So we can understand these energy systems. We can be more specific with athletes or goals. For general population, quite simple, but we're going to give you a lot of templates that you can work with.